McQuaid, Man-Made, welcome to the room. We'll give everyone a moment to come on in. Egan of Florida, how are y'all doing today? Sky Cowens. If you are watching over in YouTube or Periscope land, shoot me a comment. That's how I know that you guys are there, as I am restreaming this, and that's the only way that I know that you're there. Hello, Christina. It is good to see you over there from beautiful Venice, Italy. And I have a surprise, guys. One sec. Let me get him. You see, I was a little bit trying to get ready today, but I'm dog sitting for AJ. And let's just say that he's more work and effort than he looks. And because of him, he has thrown off my whole morning. So therefore, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. All right. However, I do have some things I'd like to talk about today, and we'll go ahead and get to it. As I said, if you're watching from YouTube or Periscope, please leave me a comment. That's how I know that you guys are there. And if you were watching an archive of this show, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share, because your engagement helps the algorithm send us to more people. All right. Spark of Sass, welcome, and it's good to see you. All right. So I guess first things first, it is Monday. So that means we dropped a new episode, the Art of Charm podcast. This week, it is Guy Raz. And Guy Raz, let me see if I don't have his book in front of me, do I? I usually have everyone's books in front of me. Guy Raz is from the podcast How I Built This. They have millions and millions of listeners and downloads. He's been doing it for quite a long time. It is an incredible podcast, and he does an incredible job talking to entrepreneurs and getting them to spill their secrets, but also with a lot of podcasts that interview CEOs, corporate types. It is great just to hear their worldview, how they go into the world, the things that they spend their time looking at, and where they would prefer to use their expertise in order to grow their businesses, which is extremely interesting to me as well. We're now living in this world where we have so much information about everything that we're doing. It makes it difficult to know where the best places to put your efforts, to put your time, to put your energy, so that you can continue moving yourself and your company forward, rather than being distracted and getting bogged down, stuck in the weeds on things that don't drive your business forward. And I think Guy does a great job with that. And he also has a curiosity that is infectious. Even in our interview with Guy, we had a great time speaking with him, having the interview. And his general curiosity comes through. And I think that's what certainly stuck out to me. And that is good. We need to ask the right questions. And I think Raz does a good job of that. There's lots to be gained from that. And especially if we're living in a world where we can get any information that we want, we can do any of the research that we want, we we can even find the answers that we're looking for. But that's half the reason we're in the social and civil trouble that we are with COVID. Because whatever numbers you need to back up your story, whatever information would strengthen the argument that you're holding in your mind, you're able to find others who feel the same way. You will also find that evidence that will support those arguments. So we're getting to this place in the information age where your curiosity and your ability to ask the right questions are going to get you better answers. So I think that's what's important. And you could definitely get that from Guy Raz. You know, here is a black mirror thought that I had today. And I'm sure others have gotten to this place as well. And this has to do with the Guy Raz interview, where we need to be able to ask the right questions, but then also understand the questions we're asking and their inevitable conclusion of asking these questions. So here's what I mean in this. I think we've fallen into the trap of information overload, where it is easy for our levels of compassion and empathy to turn pathological. Now, I know some of you are trying to register how could compassion or empathy be pathological? How could empathy or compassion be bad things? Well, anything can be bad if it is not taken in moderation, if it's gone overboard. So here's the black mirror dilemma that I think we have found ourselves in. We have all these technology companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all this information given to us online. The connections that we are able to make with people from all over the world, to be able to connect with them, to be able to hear how they live and their daily lives, to hear where they spend their energy, their efforts, their focus in order to have a better life. We hear all that. And we also, in America, obviously, in our needs and issues, have it so much better than everybody else. And because of that, we have the opportunity to then use our focus to other people's problems. Other people's problems from all over the world, and to help them. That's great. That's wonderful. There's an understanding there that, and a perspective and an appreciation and gratitude that can only be gained from connecting to other people and having compassion and empathy. Here's where it goes wrong. We have a lot of people with nothing but time on their hands because of how good they have it in Western civilization. And so they take it upon their own back to fix other people's issues and problems, or at least, because we all know that there is one thing about posting about somebody else's problems, dilemmas, and issues, but it's another to actually spend your time and effort and focus to actually helping. And so what we get is this new term that we've been dealing with for years now called virtue signaling, where I'm the champion of everybody else's problems while I'm sitting here on my couch, on my phone, on my social media with all my friends and all my followers, and I can just yap from my moral high ground about how I care and you don't. And that's where we're getting ourselves in trouble, because we can virtue signal about everyone's problems, but we don't have the means, the resources, the time, the energy, and the efforts to be able to fight for everyone's problems and to help everyone out that is in a difficult situation. And we are now connected to everybody and their issues and their problems. At some point, you have to put on your big boy pants and say, here's the issues and problems and concerns that I'm willing to fight for. I'm willing to put in effort to control, help, and research and see what I can do. And I'm going to have to blank out these other issues and problems because I just don't have the ability to be able to do anything about it. Sure, you can show unlimited compassion and empathy and yell at everybody else, but you, at some point, and big girl pants for MJ keeping it real. So, and you have to be able to say, here is the issues and problems that I can put my efforts and focus towards. And unfortunately, I can't on these others. But you have to let up on what other people want to spend their time, their efforts, their resources on, because they have other problems, other issues, and are concerned about other people in the position that they are in. And they have chosen other problems and issues to focus on than you have. And to look at them with any less or any stink eye because you don't approve of the issues and problems that they find concerning, I find that, number one, just unfair. Number two, pathological. And number three, mind your own damn business. Everybody are now connected to millions of people with millions of problems and millions of issues. And we're all trying to deal with it the best that we can. And I will say, in my experience of 46 years, that most human beings are good-natured and want to help and want to fix things and want to use their time, resources, and efforts to helping others in whatever way that they can. And they're going to. And we need to give everybody room to be able to do that and not breathe down their necks. And we certainly have an pandemic, global epidemic going on right now. And it's people and other people's business Mind your own business and focus on the problems that you decide are worth your efforts. You know, I recently just posted, as somebody who's speaking to you now on social media who has spent the last 15 years building their own company, I certainly don't like people in my business telling me what the things that we need to be working on and what we need to be doing. That is a conversation for me and my business partner to have and to compromise on. And whatever we land on is what we're going to spend those efforts. And the charities and the other causes that we decide to take on in our spare time because we are in a fortunate position is our business, is the causes that we want to champion. And if you have a problem with that, that's yours. Get out of my business. I think, and that's the thing about it. Everyone's connected and we're all up each other's asses. It's certainly time to bring it home, pick and choose the battles that you're going to work on, and do your best. Yes, you can fundraise. Yes, you can go out and beat the drum to bring some attention to your causes. Of course. But the minute you start interfering in other people's lives and letting and emotionally manipulating them into feeling bad that they're not helping out in the causes that you find that are important, well, now you've crossed the line. And that is where you can take your pathological compassion and empathy and put it where, well, you know where. So I will end that rant on that. So you guys can tell me what you think about that. That's where I'm at today. That's how I woke up. That's what I'm thinking about. That's the Black Mirror episode that we're all dealing with in real life. So yes, check out the Guy Raz interview. It's great. He asks great questions. He has a wonderful infatuation with curious of how people have built their businesses. I enjoy his podcast. He was a great interview, and there's lots of great insight. Rolling on, I guess the big news today, or at least the fun news, the lighter news, is it Tim Kennedy or Jim Kennedy had tweeted out that he wants Biden and Trump to do a 4-hour debate, and they would have Joe Rogan moderate it. Now, as a podcast fan, as a podcast host, as somebody who has been involved in podcasting for over 15 years with The Art of Charm, I will tell you that I welcome our government to get involved with the technology that we are connecting and talking to the masses, because television is the lamestream media, as I like to call it. It is over. We have a new communication tool. It is the internet. And we have what Scott Adams calls the first internet president, which is Trump certainly uses the technology to his advantage, but it's time to open up the doors to everybody else. And I agree. I think a 4-hour podcast where our leaders who are fighting for control of this country have an opportunity to state their case and really show us what they got. And I think that is wonderful. There is a problem with this whole thing, though. The problem that I see in this great idea is that we have two presidents who are unable to carry on a 4-hour conversation. I'm sorry. Joe Biden has shown that he can't articulate a fart. And Donald Trump is a stand-up comedian who speaks and tweets and bumper stickers. He's a sloganeer. Those two things are not going to, I personally don't see them equaling up to an amazing 4-hour podcast where they can extrapolate their ideas. As I said, I think the idea is wonderful. I would love to see it. I just think we have two wrong candidates for that format. I still think it should happen. I still think they should go forward with it. And I think that is the future. Unfortunately, the technology is here, just not the candidates. Now, Trump is up there. Listen, he speaks long periods at a time in his rallies and press conferences. But let's be honest, it's sloganeering. He's up there speaking. He's just he's speaking just as you would expect a real estate person to speak. Millions, billions, big numbers, wonderful. The best ever. First time ever seen. I mean, he's a sloganeer. So I think Joe would be I think Joe would be a wonderful moderator. I mean, he's been doing it and he's been interviewing and being a good interviewer for years, and he gives people plenty of space. I also think that Joe should be high as hell for that, just for the purposes that they say he was. Because that's when I think he's best. It's when he shuts up and lets his guests do the talking. When Joe is not a good interviewer, when there has been times where, for whatever reason, I don't know if maybe he wasn't feeling it, when maybe he didn't like the answers of the guests, maybe he was trying to control where the conversation went because he was a bit nervous where the guests might take some of these topics and get himself in trouble. I understand that. And so he's walking the line. But there has been interviews where I feel Joe just blew it because Joe kept taking the conversation to places. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that Joe's a bad host. It's when you do as much content as Joe, it becomes sometimes, and you get a little bit comfortable with your guests because think about it. The conversations that he's having are just going all over the place. And sometimes it works out great. However, there have been times where where I screamed at my computer to shut up, Joe. Let the guests speak. Let them finish their thoughts. Sometimes Joe gets a little bit comfortable. Anyway, so I'll sum it up again by saying I think the idea is great. That is the future. The future is here. It is now. Just unfortunately, we got two guests. We have two people who are probably not the best for that format. Charlie says, don't scare the dog. Yeah, well, he's looking at me pretty funny. He's going to go for a walk, a WALK, because he knows what that means. He's already wagging his tail. He's going to go for a walk as soon as I finish up here. So, guys, I want to thank you all. I'm going to go through the comments here. But that's what I had to say today. Those were my thoughts. Pathological compassion is still pathological. People, just because we're connected with each other doesn't mean we should be in everybody's business. We need to give people space to do the things that they want to do and to work on the problems that they want to work on. Joe Zhang in YouTube land says, hello. Well, hello to you, Joe. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in today. So absolutely. Be the human being that you are. Be the compassionate person you are. Be the amazing person that you are, and stay in your lane. And when I mean that, I mean stay out of other people's businesses and controlling them to be suiting your needs. You have enough to be doing on your own. I think we have a epidemic of moral busybodies. All right. So I got to go walk the dog. I'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Thank you guys for tuning in. You're so rad. Charlie, thank you, buddy. I'm going to go through these. Spark of Sass says, I don't think, Joe says sanitizer. I don't know what that means, Joe. Spark of Sass says, I don't think shame is a good tool for motivation. And that's become a trend on social media. Yes, Spark of Sass. I can either give you a bit of the carrot, or I can give you a bit of the stick. Now, the stick will get you moving, but you're not going to do it gleefully. The incentives are wrong. The incentives are wrong. And I don't like shame either. I think it's the worst. If you've been watching the show, and I know you have, you know that I am not a fan of emotional manipulation. In fact, I loathe it, especially if it's done for nefarious purposes. And selfish reasons are nefarious purposes. That's for your own agenda. Estefan, good to see you, buddy. MJ keeps it real. Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate your comments. You've been awesome. Hello, Nicole. It's good to see you. Helping others is key. Yes, it is key. We should all be helping others. Just we need to be focused on the things that we're going to be doing and not what others are doing. All right, over in YouTube Periscope land. Thank you, JM, for tuning in today. You guys are rad. And Joe, thank you. I will see you guys tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. PST. Yes, I'll still be dog watching. See you guys. Yes, thank you for the hearts. Look at that animal. We got hearts. All right, guys.